Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, English with Lisa. Today I'm going to explain you the poem I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings in the O-Level English Literature Anthology. This is our poetess Maya Angelou. As you can see, she is a Black American, which means half American and half African. She is well known as a civil rights activist, and she became the voice of voiceless people. She was also badly discriminated in America for two reasons. First one, for being a woman, and secondly, for being a Black American. Okay, first and foremost, let's get to know the socio-political background for this poem. In the past, white people brought Africans for slavery in America. වහල් භාවය සඳහා. Then, after a few years, slavery was abolished. Abolished කියන්නේ තහනම් කරනවා. But even after it, white people did not want to stay together with black Africans. They invented black streets, black salons, black schools, and even separate balconies for black people to sit in the court. This discriminative attitude continued all over the history, and there were so many riots, movements to gain equality. Gain equality, සමානාත්මතාවය ලබා ගැනීම. When studying this poem, we came across many special words. Here are three of them. First one is color discrimination. Color discrimination is when someone is treated differently because of the skin color. කවුරු හරි පුද්ගලයෙකුගේ සමේ වර්ණය නිසා සමාජය වෙනස් කොට සැලකීම. Second one is color bar. People were restricted because of their skin color. වර්ණ භේදවාදය. Third one, segregation. Separation of a society based on skin color. සමේ පැහැය නිසා සමාජයෙන් කොන්වීම. Let's look at the topic of this poem. I know why the caged bird sings. Here, I know means that the poetess knows how it feels. She knows the emotions. We call it empathy. සහකම්පනය වෙන පුද්ගලයෙකුගේ හැඟීම් තමන්ටත් දැනීම. Let's skip the other word, caged, for a second. And let's go to the word bird. Throughout English literature, bird is a symbol to give the idea of freedom, independence, and natural living. But here, this bird is caged. That means all those things are restricted. නිදහස, සතුට, ස්වභාවික ජීවිතය කූඩුවක දැමීම නිසා නැති වෙලා තියෙනවා. And the other word is sings. Singing is done to express strong emotions. But this song should be a sad song. Now let's go to the first stanza. The free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wings in the orange sun rays. and dares to claim the sky. Here, this stanza tells us about the free bird and its actions. Here, floating means Sinhala meaning pavenawa. It's not like swimming. Floating is an unintentional act, while swimming is intentional. පාවෙනවා කියන්නේ සිතාමතා කරන ක්‍රියාවක් නෙමෙයි. පීනනවා සිතාමතා කරන ක්‍රියාවක්. So, it's freedom and a carefree life. And this bird floats till the current ends. ජලධාරාව ඉවර වෙනකන් මේ කුරුල්ලා පාවෙනවා. It means there are no limits, endless and infinite happiness and no restrictions. කිසිම සීමාවක් නෑ මේ නිදහස් කුරුල්ලට. And dips his wings. His wings means personification. That's the technique used. So our poetess says that she is not talking about a bird in this poem, but about human beings. And there is also a visual imagery when it says orange sun rays. And she says this bird dares to claim the sky. අහසටත් අයිතිය කියන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා. So this bird has a sense of possession. Now let's move on to the second stanza. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. This stanza starts with the word but. When we say the word but, we say something different. We say a contradictory thing. වෙනස් දෙයක් කලින් කියපු දෙයට වඩා. And a bird that stalks. The meaning of the word stalks is similar to walk. ඇවිදිනවා. And this bird is in a cage. The word cage is a metaphor. It represents limited area and no freedom, and there is lots of restrictions and limitations for this bird. And he can seldom see through, seldom, rarely, see through his bars of rage. Bars of rage, again, is a metaphor. His anger is turned into bars of his own cage. Rage means anger, a very strong anger. And his wings are clipped and his feet are tied. So this bird's all free movements are limited. Violation of rights, violation of human rights, unfair treatments. So he opens his throat to sing. We use the word so to say that because of all the things that happened before, now he does this kind of thing. And he opens his throat to sing. Sing means again an act of expressing strong emotions. Now let's move on to the third stanza. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of the things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. Now this bird sings with a fearful trill. Trill is an onomatopoeia. It generates a fearful tone. So this bird's song has a fearful tone. And this bird or the person sings about the things that he does not know, of the things unknown. So those unknown things are joy of freedom, independence, and happiness. But longed for still. Longed means has a yearning. නැත්තං ආශාවෙන් බලාගෙන සිටීම. And his tune is heard. His tune is his song, or what he says, his expression. The poetess says his song is heard on the distant hill. This is also figurative language. Distance means these black Americans cannot reach them. And hills means the people in the society with higher social class and superior positions, like the ruling party with a huge social gap. So the poetess says what is said by the bird or the black American is heard by the ruling party, but they do not take any action to stop those violations. Now let's move to the fourth stanza. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. Here the word breeze literally mean a light wind, but it metaphorically says new opportunities and the opportunities which the bird has gained to gain happiness. And the trade winds soft through the sighing trees. This bird enjoys his natural life. And the fat worms. Fat worms are the natural kind of food that birds normally prefer. And the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn. These fat worms are waiting for the bird. It metaphorically says that the opportunities and happiness is waiting for the privileged or the white people. And he names the sky his own. Naming something his own means ownership. So if a person has ownership, that person also has dignity and pride. So these were enjoyed by free people, or specifically the white Americans. And this full stanza shows a visual imagery. Now let's move on to the fifth stanza. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. Here again, this stanza starts with the word but. So this also creates or introduces a contrast. Grave of dreams. The word grave of dreams indicates that this person's or this bird's dreams are not only dead but also buried. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. Nightmare is a bad dream and scream is onomatopoeic word. His nightmare screams because his dreams, expectations, and ambitions are all buried, and he is desperate about it. And the other two lines are a repetition. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. This repetition is used to emphasize on how forceful, inhuman treatments were imposed upon these deprived Black Americans. Now, the last stanza. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of the things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. This full stanza is also a repetition. It is to emphasize on the fact that powerful people know about these Black Americans' sufferings, but they do not take any actions to stop those violations. Now let's move on to a very powerful technique used in this poem, which is symbolism. The caged bird is the symbol and it symbolizes three main points. The first one is the poetess herself. Second one is specifically African Americans. And the third one is all deprived and discriminated human beings in the world. The caged bird symbolizes our poetess herself because Maya Angelou was discriminated and she admits that in the topic. And she says she knows how it feels by the empathetic feeling. And specifically, it means Black Americans, and the caged bird also can mean the discriminated people throughout the world. Now let's move on to the themes of this poem. First one is freedom. Freedom is showed because the caged bird's song is about freedom, and the caged bird's actions and the free bird's actions emphasizes on freedom. And the second theme is racism. Third one, social injustice and its brutality. Next one, color discrimination. And the fourth one, apartheid. This also prevailed in that time, and it also shows the injustice caused by those things. It is showed through the sufferings of the caged bird. And human desire for freedom and equality. This is showed by the song of the caged bird. And last, violation of human rights. This is shown through the caged bird and the sentences that wings are clipped and his feet are tied. Thanks for watching this video. Tell me in the comment section which lesson should I do next. Subscribe for more.